Everything changed in a matter of seconds. Welcome to NFL Nexus. I'm your host, and today we are unpacking one of the absolute most volatile, high-stakes situations in the entire National Football League. Before we pull back the curtain on this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this explainer, and comment on what you thought down below. And hey, if you really want to support the deep dive analysis we do here, consider supporting the channel by becoming a channel member. All right, let's get into it. The Indianapolis Colts are currently standing on a knife's edge as we enter the 2026 season. And I mean that literally. This is not just another year of football. This is a cinematic survival story for general manager Chris Ballard and head coach Shane Steichen. We're looking at a regime that is officially in a make-or-break year. The tension inside that building right now, it's suffocating. And the margin for error is absolutely zero. So today, we're going to look at the numbers, the contracts, and the locker room dynamics that have perfectly set the stage for what could easily be the most explosive season in Colts history. Look at the sheer level of disrespect aimed at the absolute core of this Indianapolis offense right now. Just look at this. This is a direct quote from Sports Illustrated's Matt Verderame, who recently ranked the Colts offensive trio an abysmal 25th in the NFL. Listen to these words. Jones is coming off a broken leg and a torn Achilles. Combined with the injuries, have Indianapolis down the list. He ranked them 25th. To put that into perspective for a second, he actually ranked them behind the Arizona Cardinals' completely unproven trio of Jacoby Brissett, rookie Jemiah Love, and Trema Pride. No way, right? It's a brutal, brutal assessment of a team that has immense proven talent. But, we kind of have to understand the gravity of what Verderame is pointing out here. A broken leg and a ruptured Achilles tendon are not just minor setbacks, they are quite literally career-altering traumas. We have to be honest. Daniel Jones has not played a fully healthy season in his 7 years in the league. Alec Pierce is currently sidelined during OTAs recovering from an ankle cleanup procedure. Jonathan Taylor, while he's currently healthy, he obviously has a history of incredible wear and tear. But is 25th overall really justified? Let's look at the cold, hard facts.
Because that 25th place ranking kind of feels like we're living in an alternate reality when you actually look at the staggeringly dominant statistics this exact trio produced on the field in 2025, right before the injury bug took over. I mean, look at Jonathan Taylor. He didn't just play well, he was an absolute titan out there. He led the entire NFL with 323 rushing attempts, racking up 1,585 rushing yards and a jaw-dropping 20 total touchdowns. He single-handedly moved the chains for 99 first downs. He was the undisputed engine of the ground game. And then you have Alec Pierce. Operating alongside Michael Pittman Jr. last year, Pierce set career highs across the board. 47 catches, 1,003 receiving yards, but you have to look at that key stat column, 21.3 yards per catch. That didn't just lead the team, that led the entire National Football League. Literally every single time this guy touched the ball, it was an explosive play. And at the helm of it all, Daniel Jones. Before that devastating injury, Jones was playing at an elite Pro Bowl level. In fact, he was actively being discussed in the MVP conversation because of his absolute surgical command of Shane Steichen's offense. When you put all these numbers together, a 25th place ranking isn't just low, it's practically insulting. But to truly understand the media's skepticism right now, we have to revisit the nightmares.
What you're seeing here is the anatomy of a collapse. The 2025 season started off like an absolute dream for Indianapolis. I mean, the Colts came out firing on all cylinders. They were dominating their opponents, cruising to an incredible 8-2 record. They looked completely unstoppable. The Steichen offensive scheme was a masterpiece unfolding in real time, and Daniel Jones was executing it flawlessly. But then, the catalyst for everything we are discussing today happened, the midseason nightmare. Daniel Jones suffers a broken leg and a torn Achilles. In a matter of seconds, the air was entirely sucked out of Lucas Oil Stadium, and the ripple effect of that single moment was completely devastating. Without their quarterback, the team went into an absolute uncontrollable freefall. They finished the season on a soul-crushing 7-game losing streak, eventually ending up with a really tough-to-stomach 8-9 record. That monumental collapse, that's the ghost that is currently haunting the Colts' 2026 offseason. It's exactly why the media is terrified to buy back in on this roster. So how did the front office respond to that epic collapse? Well, their response was massive. $114 million. That is the staggering 4-year contract extension the Indianapolis Colts just handed to wide receiver Alec Pierce this offseason. With Michael Pittman Jr. officially departing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Colts didn't just casually ask Pierce to step up. No, they paid him elite, top-tier money to officially become their undisputed WR1. This is a monumental financial gamble by GM Chris Ballard. You are paying heavily for that league-leading 21.3 yards per catch. You are paying for the explosive potential he showed. But you are also inheriting the immense crushing pressure that comes with a $114 million price tag, especially when you factor in that Pierce is currently sidelined from OTAs recovering from that ankle surgery. If this offense is going to prove the doubters wrong this year, Alec Pierce has to be worth every single penny of that nine-figure investment. But as we're about to see, he's definitely not the only target Daniel Jones will be relying on.
Section 1. The crucial connection. Jones and Warren.
You know, when we talk about Shane Steichen's offense, we usually spend all our time talking about the heavy run game or the deep passing attack. But the quiet, pulsing heartbeat of this unit last year was actually a rookie tight end drafted 14th overall in the 2025 NFL Draft, Tyler Warren. Most people going into last season assumed Warren would be catching passes from Anthony Richardson. Instead, it was Daniel Jones who completely unlocked him, turning him into a mismatch nightmare across literally every single formation. The chemistry between those two was instantaneous, and it completely altered the entire geometry of the Colts' passing attack. Just look at this number, 112. That is the number of targets Tyler Warren commanded last season. Now, why is that so significant? Because that number actually led the entire Indianapolis Colts roster. A rookie tight end stepped onto an NFL field and out-targeted the veteran wide receiver Michael Pittman Jr., who had 111. That level of target volume, that doesn't just happen by accident. It is born out of absolute trust. On critical downs in the red zone under heavy pressure, Daniel Jones looked for number 84. Warren wasn't just a safety valve, he was the primary read on a massive portion of Steichen's playbook. But just how vital was Daniel Jones to Tyler Warren's success? Well, the data paints a very clear and honestly very concerning picture.
The true value of this unique chemistry is totally exposed when you isolate Warren's splits from 2025. In the roughly 12 games he played with Daniel Jones under center, Warren was an absolute monster. We're talking 59 catches, 697 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He was on pace for a genuinely historic rookie season, but look what happens when Jones goes down with that Achilles injury, and the team is forced to cycle through Phillip Rivers and Riley Leonard at quarterback. Warren's production completely tanked. It fell off a cliff. In those remaining games, he mustered a mere 17 catches for 120 yards, and he completely disappeared from the end zone with 0 touchdowns. So what does this actually tell us? It illustrates a harsh reality for Indianapolis. Tyler Warren's elite production wasn't just some plug-and-play feature in the Steichen scheme. It was heavily reliant on the specific timing, the anticipation, and the chemistry he shared with Daniel Jones. The offense flatlined because the literal engine of their passing attack was suddenly disconnected.
So the big question is, how are they fixing it right now? Well, here is the absolute latest from the ground in Indianapolis during OTAs. Jones is still strictly limited, which makes sense, right? He's just 6 months removed from an Achilles tear. But he is out there throwing. The two of them are actively building chemistry in 7-on-7 drills, maximizing every single solitary rep they're allowed to take. The medical staff has a fully healthy projection slated for July training camp, where Jones is expected to finally return to full 11-on-11 action. But the most fascinating update here actually comes straight from head coach Shane Steichen himself. He explicitly stated that they are designing entirely new ways to target Warren. Think about it. They know Pittman's targets are gone. They know Pierce is going to be getting the heavy coverage. Steichen is evolving the playbook right now, in the spring, to ensure that when Jones is fully cleared, Tyler Warren's role is going to explode even further. It is a calculated, strategic amplification of their absolute best mismatch. But this incredibly heavy reliance on Jones's health brings us to the most terrifying question for the front office.
Section 2. An expensive backup battle. What happens if Daniel Jones goes down again? You know, in the NFL, the backup quarterback is often the most ignored player on the roster until suddenly he's the most important man in the entire building. For the 2026 Indianapolis Colts, given Jones's devastating injury history, this isn't just a casual battle for a clipboard. The winner of this job is one hit, one awkward plant of a foot away from steering the entire season. And this is a fascinating clash of ideologies. On one side, you have Anthony Richardson Sr., the former top pick. He represents raw, volatile, completely explosive potential, but he remains an unrefined, oft-injured project. He's entering the final year of his rookie deal, and he literally spent the entire 2026 draft on the trade block. And honestly, most awkwardly, his trade request has still not been rescinded. Remember, he missed out on a golden opportunity in 2025 due to a freak accident with an elastic exercise band. On the other side, you have Riley Leonard, a 2025 sixth-round draft pick. He is viewed by the coaching staff as durable, loyal, and honestly, the perfect schematic fit for this specific version of Shane Steichen's offense. He is the quiet, reliable asset versus the loud, expensive project. The league largely ignored Richardson during the draft, which has left the Colts with a very complex problem.
And that problem? It comes with a massive price tag. $10.8 million. That is the enormous cap hit the Colts are carrying right now for Anthony Richardson, just to potentially have him sit on the bench as the backup, or worse, the third stringer if Riley Leonard actually beats him out in camp. Taking on nearly $11 million in cap space for a disgruntled backup is a massive, massive financial burden. It is a huge gamble by GM Chris Ballard. You really have to ask yourself, why not just cut him? Why not just take whatever lowball trade offer was on the table? Well, because in a make-or-break year for the regime, the sheer fear of Richardson walking out the door and fulfilling his immense physical potential somewhere else is paralyzing. They are paying a premium insurance policy just in case they can finally fix him.
But fixing him? That is a tall order. Just look at the completion percentage. Over 3 years in the NFL, Richardson has an abysmal 50.6% career completion rate. You simply cannot survive in the modern, highly efficient NFL completing only half of your passes. It completely destroys the rhythm of Shane Steichen's offense. It stalls drives. It puts an exhausted defense right back on the field. And while reporters and analysts still love to talk about the shades of Cam Newton and Josh Allen, the massive 6'4", 244-pound frame, and the elite arm strength, the tape tells a completely different story, a story of profound inaccuracy. This single metric right here is the primary reason the trade market for him was completely silent.
Because at the end of the day, the production simply hasn't matched the potential. Over his 3 years in the league, Richardson's total output is deeply uninspired. We're looking at 2,400 passing yards, 11 passing touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. Yes, more turnovers than touchdowns. When you couple that stat line with his plethora of major and minor injuries, keeping him is an undeniable hazard. Yet, General Manager Chris Ballard and others in the building still firmly believe he can rebound from this brutal start to his career. They still remember that dominant first month of his rookie season back in 2023. The ghost of that specific potential is exactly why he's still on this roster, soaking up valuable reps in OTAs and battling Riley Leonard. Because if Daniel Jones goes down, having a player who can break a defense in half with one play might literally be the only way to save a doomed season.
Which brings us to the ultimate, franchise-defining question as we look toward kickoff. Can this high-risk, injury-prone roster finally stay healthy and save the jobs of head coach Shane Steichen and GM Chris Ballard? They are betting everything right now, their careers, their reputations, the immediate future of the franchise, on a quarterback coming off a torn Achilles, a receiver making $114 million coming off an ankle cleanup, a workhorse running back with immense mileage, and a backup quarterback room filled with expensive, volatile tension. If they stay healthy, this offense could genuinely be one of the most lethal forces in football. But if that injury bug bites again, this entire regime could be swept out the door by January. This story is far from over. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. Don't forget to subscribe to NFL Nexus, like this explainer, drop a comment with your predictions for the Colts season, and please consider becoming a channel member to support what we do. I'll see you in the next explainer.